Good morning. I'm Kevin O'Connor.
And I'm Norm Abram.
And welcome back to a brand new season of This Old House. This morning we find ourselves in downtown Boston. Well, technically underneath downtown Boston, right?
Now, we've arrived at work several different ways. In our pickup trucks, occasionally on a boat, and maybe on a horse once in a while. But we hardly ever take advantage of the subway system.
Massachusetts had the first subway system in the United States. And this stop, Park Street, was its first station.
Where did it go from here?
It didn't actually go very far. It just went one stop. You know, back when it was built, people weren't that excited about going underneath ground to get on a train.
Well, that's not the case today. Over 1 million people use the subway system that's under the city of Boston.
And it's not just underneath the city of Boston, but it takes you to the outlying suburbs as well.
Which is the location of our next project.
What starts off as a subway ride beneath Boston, in a few stops becomes an above-ground trolley ride. And in about 20 minutes, this train will take us to the nearby suburb of Newton, Massachusetts.
Right, and that's a lot faster than driving.
Well, Newton is known as the Garden City to the folks who live here, and that's because they're very partial to their parklands, their plantings, their open space, right down to their main road.
Right, and this is Commonwealth Ave, which is one of the main thoroughfares through Newton. It was actually extended from the city of Boston in the 1890s. Now, these marginal roads, I think, are a big plus because it gives the residents a safe place to jog and walk their dog, and it gives it more of a neighborhood feel.
Well, a lot of thought went into planning this road. In fact, Frederick Law Olmsted had a hand in designing it. And he is the father of landscape architecture here in America, and many people know him as a gentleman who designed Central Park in New York.
Mm-hmm. And our house is just a couple blocks off of this road.
Newton is also known for its rich collection of 19th century and early 20th century historic homes. And I'd say that we got ourselves one. It's a nice house, isn't it?
It is.
Well, it was built in 1897 by a gentleman named Jarvis Lamson. He was a wealthy Bostonian. He made his money as a furrier, and he came out to Newton. He bought himself a lot of land, and he built himself a big house. And it's a big one. So what do you think of the style?
Well, 1897, that would be Victorian era, and it's shingle style. And some of the clues of that are, if you look up at the second floor, you see this bay window that pops out under a large overhang that has these corbels every couple feet.
Those are the decorative elements right there that look like they're a continuation of the structural framing.
Right, that's the idea. And down here on the first floor, you have this huge wraparound porch. And instead of having an open baluster system, it's a solid wall, shingled on both sides. That's classic shingle style.
Lots of shingles and a huge porch.
Well, you know, the shingle style came from the coast, and you wanted a huge porch like that to enjoy the breezes and the views.
Although, when I think of shingle styles on the water, I think of houses that are very elaborate. I mean, not that this isn't elaborate, but I'm talking, you know, big turrets that protrude through the roof.
Right, well, you're right. But when they came inland, they toned it down a bit. They simplified it a bit, yet the influence is still there. For instance, on this side, you see another bay window, but what happens is the wall comes along and it jogs in, and then the bay pops out under a big overhang.
Like the bay is carved into the house, more of that restraint you're talking about.
Right. And if you look up at the slope of the roof, you see a series of shingles running right up towards the peak.
So we would call that a rake board, and typically it might be a solid piece of trim and painted so it stands out.
Right, except now it's all made with shingles, and they call that a braid.
More shingles.
That's right.
All right, well, I'm going to learn more about our house from the architect. Treff LaFleche. He's going to show me around, he's going to tell me about the house, and then I'm going to meet the homeowners. They actually live right up the street. They are moving today. They sold their house so they could buy this house, and they're going into a rental.
Well, I'm going to take a tour around with Tom.
Okay. Hey, Paul, good to see you.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
All right, looks like I caught you on moving day.
Yeah, so it is.
And you were smart, you got yourself some help.
Absolutely. This is my son Douglas,
Hey,
age
Douglas?
10.
All right, and he's one of two, right?
Right, we have a younger one, 7, Spencer.
Well, we're going to put him to work too.
Great.
So this is the house you're moving out of.
Yes, we've been here for about 9 years in this center entrance Colonial.
It looks like a pretty comfortable house.
Yeah, we've loved it. We've had a great time here.
Why moving out?
Well, we've been here 10 years. The kids are starting to grow up, and we feel like we need a little bit more space and room to move.
All right, well, you bought more space because you bought the new house, correct?
Right, we just closed on that 2 days ago.
And you've sold this one?
Right, we sold this one, and we close on it in 9 days.
So you actually own 2 houses?
Yes, but just for 9 days.
All right.
Let me show you around.
Please. This must be your wife.
Yes, this is Maddie.
Hi.
Maddie, nice to meet you. Kevin O'Connor.
Nice to meet you.
Well, you have got yourself an unbelievable yard back here. This thing is it's a field.
It breaks Paul's heart to be leaving it.
Yeah, we'd love to play home run derby here. We line up right on the home plate, have our kids take a bat.
You got a baseball field, trampoline, swing set. You got everything back here.
Yeah, this is great. We love it.
You know, I suspect you also have got enough room that if you wanted to, you maybe could have bumped off the back of the house. Did you guys think of that?
Absolutely. Even when we first bought the home, we were planning eventually of bumping out the back of this home. We were going to come out approximately to this planting area, and we were going to bump out the kitchen, family room, master bedroom suite above, replacing 3 older bathrooms and the kitchen.
Seems like a pretty reasonable plan.
Very reasonable until we started pricing that plan, and we were just completely blown away by the cost of doing that. And it was just out of question.
And you're left with the dilemma that so many people have, and that's, do you improve or do you move?
It turns out we're going to move and improve. My wife came home one day and she saw a house that she absolutely loved. Victorian area home just in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, did you know she was looking for a house?
I had no idea she was looking for a house.
And the problem is that no matter what we did to this house, it would never have the beauty or the grandeur of the house that we're hopefully going to be moving into.
Well, I just looked at it. It's got tons of curb appeal, and we can't wait to see the inside.
Well, Tom, I can't recall a project that we ever worked on that had a wraparound porch this big.
This is huge, Norm. On the front of the house, it's what, 10 feet wide? I bet
Yeah.
it's over 50 feet long. But look at the detail. Right here, the way they wove the corners, herringbone joints from the transition from the side to the front. And I look up on the ceiling, this V-groove board, it's all mitered from the house all the way out to the column.
And speaking of columns, there are 18 columns holding up the roof, and they look like they're in pretty good shape.
They're in great shape, but what I love about these shingle-style home is the detail. Under each column, they built out the wall, and they wove all of the corners of the shingle. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. But you know, the homeowners just purchased this property, and there was an inspection report, and there were a few notes about possible problems with this porch.
Yeah, and if you come up the front stairs and you look back at the decking, you can actually see some shadowing right at each column. That's because there's a carrying beam that runs under the decking, and the joists run into that carrying beam. We may need to get under there and jack up those joists tighter to the top of the beam and solve that problem.
Get it nice and even.
Yep.
Now, the exterior is all shingles, as expected for a shingle style, and I don't see any peeling paint, so that's a good sign.
The paint looks good around the whole house. Look at this beautiful front entry.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the entry is incorporated into this porch area. It's covered, you don't get wet when you come in here. And look at this, leaded glass side lights, those look great.
It's beautiful. And how about this front door? Quarter sawn oak. I think it's original, but it needs to be refinished. There's a couple of issues inside. Let's take a look. But tell me, what's the first thing you notice when you step into this room?
It's pitching down, that's for sure.
It sure is. Let me show you. Take this roll of tape. I'll give it a little push to get it started.
Wow, that is serious.
Yeah, it's got a good slope. But look right here, Norm. On the hinge side of the door, it's nice and tight at the top. Come across over here, we have a space of over an inch. That tells me that that wall is definitely down.
What do you think's going on?
Well, I looked at it earlier, and this part of the house doesn't have a foundation in it. There's a couple of piers in each corner here. The piers could have settled, and the posts that the piers are settled on could have a little rod in them, so we got to address that.
I see a hole in the wall here, but I don't see any insulation.
There's no insulation in this wall. I checked around the house, a couple of other rooms. I didn't see any insulation in there either, so that's definitely a must.
Yeah.
Look at the condition of this plastered ceiling.
Wow, that is nasty.
That's bad. This ceiling in this room is definitely going to have to be replaced.
But you know, when you come into the center hall on the first floor, you gotta love all this wood. I mean, these
love this.
quarter sawn oak floors.
Beautiful.
This nice panel system along the main staircase, these turned
All
balusters.
quarter sawn oak.
It's great.
But look at here. I walked up the stairway and I noticed a big bulge in this wall right here. This is plaster and lath, and something has broken away, causing that plaster to bulge out.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna wanna do something with the wallpaper too.
Gee, I hope so.
Look at this stained glass window.
Isn't it
It's
beautiful?
gorgeous. Nice arch top sash. Needs a little bit of cleaning though,
Yeah, but it's not very energy efficient.
but we are gonna save it.
Oh, absolutely.
And over here, the rail system continues up onto the second floor hallway, and it arches around where it meets the wall. Very
Beautiful
nice.
detail, except for one thing. It would never pass today's code. It's a little bit low.
Yeah, but it's nice and strong. It's gonna do.
It is, it is. This is a great bedroom. Look at all the light in here, all these windows. I think this is going to be their oldest son's room.
Wow, he's going to have a bonus. He'll have his own bathroom. Got a nice shower in here and a couple fixtures.
There's no heat in that bathroom.
I'll talk to Richard about that.
Okay. Well, I looked at the floors. Other than the fact that they have to be sanded and refinished, there's a couple of holes over here where some old radiator pipes came through. We'll have to cut out this and patch them.
All right.
Now, there's 4 good-sized bedrooms up here on the second floor, but I love this room. Look at the light in this room.
Right, and they want to turn this into an office space.
An office with a fireplace.
Boy, look at this. Another nice mantle with a
that
bevel
beautiful?
glass mirror and nice tile around the firebox.
Right, right. But you know, the first thing I want to do, a house of this vintage, I want to first make sure that that chimney is lined. And if it is lined, I want to check the condition of the liner to make sure there's no holes in it. Look at this space here, Norm. This is going to be the master suite.
Right, the idea is to take the footprint of the sleeping porch, which is right along the back here, and put in closets and a bathroom, the vanities and so forth, and tie it all together with this space. So it seems to me that most of the work up here is going to be in this area.
Well, there is a lot of work up here, but the majority of the work is going to be redesigning that new kitchen downstairs. And our architect, Treff LaFleche, is down there right now.
So Treff, I know you're familiar with our neighborhood. You live right around the corner.
I
And
do.
At this point, you're familiar with our house.
What a great example, Kevin, of the shingle style. Look at the detailing in this formal staircase.
What a great staircase. I mean, all the exposed wood, these turnings here.
Yes, and look, 4 balusters per tread. I think that's kind of unusual.
Below it, more of the wood and some of this magnificent paneling.
Yeah, and the oak is in wonderful condition, too.
So the entryway says it's a grand house, it's got good craftsmanship. Tell me how you think this house was lived in 100 years ago.
Well, as you know, back then we were all so much more formal than we are today. This was the formal parlor right off the stair hall.
So the most formal room in the house, probably.
You're right, you're right.
The homeowners met their important guests here, maybe their minister on the weekend.
Or in this case, the rabbi, because there's a temple down the
All
street.
right, fair enough. This room here?
This is the living room.
All right, and again, more detail. Look at this window seat. This is fantastic.
Yes, wonderful example of built-in detailing. Look at the detailing on this bookcase. I think this is called spool beading.
And it's in pretty good shape, as is the fireplace. I mean, this is magnificent, almost in perfect shape.
I think it's mahogany. And look at the tile. I think the tile is a nice example of the Victorian Roman brick style.
Good news for the homeowners, not a lot of work necessary to update
That's
this.
right, yes.
How about this room?
Well, this was the formal dining room, but we're going to rethink it. Because of the proximity to the kitchen, we're going to turn this into our new family room.
So the changes on the first floor pretty much start here.
That's right.
So this is going to become a little less formal. You say a family room, and good to have it next to the kitchen. I know you've got plans for this room. Hey guys.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Hi.
Right.
You know, it's actually a pretty big kitchen, bigger than most we see at this stage of the renovation.
Lots of space back here. Clearly this has been renovated probably in the 70s or maybe the early 80s.
Not the original detail, but you are going to make major changes. Maddie, what don't you like about your kitchen?
This is so long and narrow, and this wall prevents us from being able to have a table and chairs here that will also enable us to walk through the kitchen.
So what's behind the wall?
This is a staircase.
This is the old back staircase.
Okay. And so what's the solution?
Well, what we're going to do is take advantage of this good amount of space, but push the kitchen back into this corner, creating a more functional U-shaped kitchen with an island in the center.
So this is the wall that's right behind you, and you say you're going to bring the working part of the kitchen back here. I think I see a stove.
That's right.
So you're saying the stove is just about here?
You're sitting right or standing right where the stove wants to be.
It suggests that you're going to have to go through this wall.
That's right. We've got to reclaim that space on the other side.
Right, and back here is our second bathroom. What we'd like to do is take this wall down and remove it and be able to use this in the kitchen.
You've got some laundry in there too. So you're going to get rid of a bathroom and make it part of the kitchen. That's okay?
Absolutely, there's a small bath right under the front steps.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right, so as I look at this, what used to be a bathroom here is now part of the kitchen. As you say, Treff, the working part right here.
That's right.
The wall behind you, and oh yeah, this is a new bump out.
And that will provide a couple of things. First of all, having a bay window here is going to let us have a lot of light into the kitchen. But it's also going to solve that problem. By having a bench built into the window here, all of a sudden we can have the table and chairs and not worry about the passage to the rest of the house here.
And if you've got a staircase behind that wall, I guess that wall stays.
Well, sort of. I think what we want to do is try to keep it. The cost of removing it is just too great. So what we'd like to do is surgically open it up, starting on this side where the stair climbs its greatest height. We're going to Open it carefully here, open it a little bit more on this side. Finally, the grandest opening here, thereby giving us a lot of open connection from one end of the room to the other.
So no longer hiding the back staircase.
That's right.
As I look at the model, if you're in the kitchen, you now have views through this clipped wall into the informal living room.
And from the family room back into the kitchen.
Wow, that's great, so it really opens it up. And there's one more space back here we haven't talked about. Paul, what's going on here?
What we'd like to create is a mudroom back behind this wall, and take this wall down. So what we do is we utilize this back space to help provide a connection to the backyard, to our garage and where our car would be. Bring our garage groceries up and down.
Make a
those
critical
steps.
connection to the back.
Right, right.
And here, Kevin, we were going to put a door, a glass door, that would connect to a stairway that would go down both to the driveway and garage and also give us extra access to the backyard.
Yeah, I get it, but I think that means that you've got to actually take down this wall so you can connect to the kitchen.
Correct.
So you're going to remove a pretty handsome looking library and replace it with a mudroom.
But there are plenty of bookcases and places to read in the living room, and the mudroom is a very important part of living these days.
Well, we do use mudrooms.
Oh, you know, and in fact, we spend more time, Kevin, working on the details of mudrooms as we do on the kitchens.
I presume it's because your customers want them.
That's right.
All right, so let's look at what we end up with. What was a formal dining room becomes an informal living room, or you call it family room. It opens up onto a kitchen, which we can now see because you've taken this wall out here, or at least exposed it. More room from a bump out and more room from a bathroom that we made part of the kitchen, and of course a mudroom. You know, for the entire plan of the house, this is a pretty extensive part.
You're right. It's the most extensive part of the project.
However, it's also the place where we're going to be spending most of the time with our family.
Right, and it helps connect the front part of the house with the back part of the house. It really updates it for today's living.
Well, up here on the third floor, there are some guest rooms, and on this end, there's a full-size bath. And not much is going to be done to those rooms. But in here, a first for us, a billiards room. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Norm, how are you? Oh, I scratched.
What are you doing up here? You're usually mucking around down in the
I'm doing a little
basement.
calculation here of my angles. Not a bad little space up here, huh?
It's not bad.
Look at this thing right here. This is very unusual. This is a combination electrical light and gas light. When this house was built, the way they lit the building would have been with gas lighting. Electricity was just coming inside the building. Very unusual to see this. The gas would have come right here, a little shut off. There would have been a mantle right here that you lit with a match, a globe that went over it, and would give nice gentle light. Now this gas piping went all through the ceilings. And look at over here, it's still a piece coming out of the wall right here, and this went to a thing called a gas log, a fireplace really. You'd turn on the shut off, light those burners, would give you zone heating right here on the third floor.
You know, it doesn't feel like we're on the third floor. You don't usually see rooms this big on the
know.
third floor with nice high ceilings and plenty of windows to let light in.
It's a
great
great
space.
Great space, and they want to use it the same way. They want to keep the billiards table, put a television right here. It could be terrific.
Well, I'll tell you, if they're going to use this room in the summertime, they better put some air conditioning in.
Yes, there is no air conditioning in the whole house.
In the whole house?
No. Actually, there's actually one room that did have air conditioning. If you wanted to sleep on a hot summer night, Norm, this is where you came, the sleeping porch. It used to have a half wall right here, I'm sure, with all sorts of screens right here, and you would come out here at night and the cool breezes would let you get through the night.
Well, we know that this was exposed to the weather because we have the exterior shingle siding on the house here. And you know, the idea is that we want to incorporate this space into the master bedroom suite. This floor is going to have to be leveled. That's going to take a lot of work. This exterior wall is going to have to be rebuilt with new windows and so forth. And we're going to cut through this wall, which means possible structural work.
All right, well, I got to think about getting plumbing out here, heating, and obviously air conditioning. It's pretty hot out here now. Now, Norm, it's filled with wood right now, but at one time this was the coal bin, filled with coal, and someone's job every day, twice a day, was to shovel the coal over here. Now, at one time there was a very big cast iron boiler that sat right here. Had no circulator pump. It just used to heat up the water, and it would just gently rise through the building. And what it did is it went through a series of pipes. You can see some of the remnants right here. They went up to radiators all through the building, but it also heated the air into some of the ductwork. Somewhere along the line, that was all ripped out. And now you can see there are two furnaces, one for the first floor and one for the second that has a few registers that go up to the third floor.
Now, these furnaces look relatively new. What do you think of them?
Well, they are new. There's not much we have to do with them. It's really the ductwork that's going to really be the challenge for us. Homeowners want to get some head height down here. I mean, this is pretty low right here, so we got to move it up and away.
Well, can you blame them? I mean, how many times do we get in a basement where the ceiling height is over 8 feet? I mean, it's a waste with all that
I know, it'd be a
ductwork.
great spot. And then if we ever do air conditioning here, I don't think any of this ductwork is insulated.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, this is the first look at the mechanical, so we got some time to figure it out.
Thank goodness.
Our homeowners, Paul and Maddie, want to be able to get from the kitchen here in the back of the house to the backyard. But that's not so easy. This plate glass window here, well, that's in the kitchen, and you can see it is about 10 feet above the top of this backyard. So the solution is to build a deck. And that deck's going to run across the back of the house, and you're going to access it from 2 doors. One in the kitchen, and then another one here in the new mudroom. You'll come out that door onto the deck, and then a flight of stairs will take you down here into the yard. But once you get to the yard, well, unfortunately, it is almost unusable. It has a very steep pitch away from the house, and it actually slopes away pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly and pretty deep. This is 6 to 7 feet down here at the base of the slope from where you were up top.
And this was the biggest challenge for me. It's a large yard, but it's not really usable for playing sports, for socializing. It's really like a ski slope.
Yeah, and skiing's not going to do it for Paul's boys, Roger. You should see the yard he has right now. They're ball players.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. They got home plate, home run derby. They got a jungle gym. They got a trampoline. And the yard is as flat as a pancake.
Well, let's take a look at the neighbor's yard. You look over the fence here. Look at that nice, flat lawn area. Look at the kids playing down there.
Yep.
They brought in fill, they put in the lawn, and then they put in a boulder retaining wall to hold all this in place.
So you think the neighbor's yard used to slope away from the house as steeply as this yard?
Maybe even more steeply than this yard.
So are you thinking of a similar game plan, fill and a retaining wall?
Well, we're actually working with landscape architect Stephanie Hubbard, who we worked with before. And what she wants to do is put a patio along the foundation, wrapping it all the way down to the end.
What are you thinking for the patio surface?
Oh, bluestone. That'll make a great social area.
Okay. And then you're going to hold that in place, you say, with a retaining wall?
Retaining wall's going to come wrapping right around.
What are you thinking of a material for that?
I think we're thinking about a material that's similar to the other stone around the house.
All right.
Now, don't get carried away. Before we do patios and walls, we have an issue. See all these downspouts coming down?
Yeah.
One here, one there, a couple around the corner. We have a lot of water coming down this slope. We have to take care of that, or we're going to have an erosion problem.
All right, so you manage the water and you end up with a nice place for the grill and barbecuing, but what about the ball field?
Okay, here we go. Wall's about this high. We come down about 3 feet, and we start putting in fill and leveling it off.
Whoa, hang on a second. You talking about bringing in fill to level all of this off? That's a ton of fill.
More than a ton, Kevin.
All right.
But Kevin, fill is probably the cheapest thing we can get. In fact, sometimes I get it for free off job sites.
All right, so is it safe to assume after you fill this all up, you're going to have another sort of retaining wall down here?
That's right. We're going to have another retaining wall here, but we're going to build this one out of concrete blocks. They go in quick, they go in fast, they go in cheap. In the end, no one from the house is going to see it, so it's all going to be hidden back here.
Okay.
But where's home plate?
Right over here.
Yeah, we're thinking about Douglas here. Where is home plate?
I figure I want them to set up right about here. How's that work for you guys?
Looks great.
Yeah.
Guess we hit a home run over the house.
Ooh, you may actually regret that you asked for a ball field when one of those first ones goes through your new bay window.
Yeah, you're right. We might have to go to wiffle balls from now on.
All right. Well, so next time if we get ourselves a building permit, we'll actually be able to start the demolition.
And I'm going to meet with landscape architect Stephanie Hubbard. And until then, I'm Roger Cook.
I'm Paul Friedberg.
And I'm Kevin O'Connor for this old house.
All right, who's going to hit the first home run?
Douglas.
Right.
You think you got it in you?